everybody, and welcome once again to the Meat Grinder, your weekly dose of high school football in Connecticut. And what are you laughing at, Pete Paguaga?
I don't know if are you trying to do like your Halloween scary person voice? That was just really funny.
No, I'm not doing like the scary Halloween voice. I'm trying to get into the flow of this thing a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get a personality here. You know, like Wolfman Jack, or Anyway, welcome to the Meat Grinder. At the top of the show, you heard a little montage there of Jeff Jacobs' big cross-state trip from Quinebaug out in Killingley all the way over to Abbott Tech Immaculate in the Danbury, and he will have him on a little bit later to talk about that. Also on the show this week is Mike Serricchio from Ledyard, the first-year coach from Springfield College, the cradle of coaches. He'll be joining us a little bit to talk about his team's 2-0 start heading into Waterford. And it is Alliance Week, Pete. It is Alliance Week here. Al Carbone special week coming up to you. We have about 23 games going on this week. We have 23 games on Friday, I should say. And then about 27 overall. I can't even really, I don't know what the exact number is here, but who knows how many of these games are getting postponed, or who knows by the end of the week. It's been kind of crazy with the COVID postpones. We had 9 last week, so I don't know. But let's not talk about that just now. We got Alliance Week coming up, and I'm fired up. And we had a pretty interesting week of football last week. Kind of leading into this Alliance, we some questions answered, some questions that have been brought up. Our game of the week was kind of a dud, for example.
Yeah, It kind of was. I think St. Joe's is that good. I think Morrissey is that good. I think Maxwell Warren is that good. I think Riley Jordan is that good. I think they're good. I think, after the first week, people were like, is St. Joe's that good? Is Danbury that bad? And watching them 2 weekends in a row, 2 weeks in a row, I really do think St. Joe's is that good, regardless of they might be undersized, like some people say. The opponents that they've played, they have dominated in both of their performances. I think St. Joe's is that good. Yeah,
I mean, I was shocked that Staples didn't put much more of a fight. I mean, Joe is gloom and doom to start the year, and Morrissey's and all the Silva and all these guys that we heard, but they're all still the younger brothers. I mean, they're that good. Apparently so. And now they're going to play a big game, one of the big games this week in the Alliance. They're going all the way up to Windsor to face a team we haven't even really discussed much yet this week. But Windsor is a pretty interesting team. I had him in my top 15 somewhere in there, I think. And now they go all the way up there to CCC country. It's the first time they've ever played, and see just how St. Joseph does at the state level. But that should be a fascinating game.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good litmus test, whatever it's called. Because Windsor is good. Windsor is athletic. Coach Fleeting does a great job up there. It's nice to see St. Joe's get out of the FCAC before they play, the Greenwiches and the New Canaans and the Darians. I think we're still, I say this every week, but I think we're still trying to feel out who's good, who's not, who's legit, who's not, So I think this is a great test for St. Joe's. But I like I said earlier, I do think they are that good.
Wasn't close, Pete.
No,
wasn't close.
Nope.
And some new names kind of came to the fore there. What happened in that game?
Riley Jordan happened. Riley Jordan is a really good running back. And, Coach Dell knew he was going to be their guy when the year started, but there was some big shoes to fill. I mean, Jaden Sheardon was one of the best players in the state, probably the best running back in the state 2 years ago. And he started for 4 years at St. Joe's. So those are big shoes to fill. He had 2 big runs on their first couple of drives, rushed for about 100 yards, had 2 scores. Morrissey continues to do it with his arm and his feet. And, De Silva, you mentioned De Silva. He made 2 great plays on defense late in the game with 2 4th down stops, blitzing off the end, hitting the quarterback as he's releasing the ball. It's the same names. They're just younger.
Windsor, should be a challenge. Obviously, Cromartie, we talked about him. They won the passing league, the New Canaan Grip It and Rip It during the summer, which I wasn't there. You weren't there, so I don't even know what the heck happened. It's not football. So now it's for real, Windsor. Now it's for real. It's time for you guys to, to actually put the pads on and play. I'm sure they're really fired up to do that. Let's see what they got. And on Saturday, one of our big games, actually, even the Alliance coming up on Saturday, you got to see Greenwich for the first time. They put a Ridgefield down there at Boyle Stadium because they don't have their field. And I'm over.
Neither team has
their
field.
field, right? That's right. I forgot all about that. But, that game, I was just kind of following a little bit on Twitter there. And, I guess I was so far behind that I'm sitting there scrolling through it. And then I was like 42-14. And I'm like, Greenwich is great. And I heard coaches say they're great. And this is an affirmation. And then I, literally drove like, 20 minutes down the road. And I get to my back home. And next thing I know, it's like 42-35 or 4. It was crazy.
Yeah, that game was wild. And I said this on Twitter, people forget Ridgefield didn't play week 1. And all those kinks that we talked about after week 1 of these teams being rusty, making mistakes, trying to play a football game for the first time in close to 2 years, like that was Ridgefield for the first 2.5 quarters. And then they kind of started to click and get better. Look, it was a hot day. A lot of guys were sluggish towards the end. Greenwich is good, but I really think Ridgefield's pretty darn good too. Keller under center. Nick Wright had a couple of touchdown passes, receptions for Ridgefield, but Greenwich is good. They got multiple weapons. If it's not Lucas Galata, it's James Babb. That's like the third time I've done that. Yeah. I did it to him to his face too. I apologize. I was like, why am I calling him Bib? James Babb. It's Lucas Galata. It's Chasen Barber. Like they have guys, they have weapons. And then on the defense, you have Griffin Galata, Lucas's younger brother, sophomore, who's like 6'3". He's just a monster. He was terrorizing the Ridgefield offense all day with a forced fumble. He had a pick 6. I love big guy touchdowns.
Yeah.
He had pick 6 right in front of me. They got dudes, and either I think it was a combination of maybe they took their foot off the gas a little bit, or Ridgefield kind of started to click. It was their first full game action in a really long time. So it was really interesting because I was getting ready to leave. When it became 42-14, I looked at Scott Erickson, our reporter. I was like, all right, I'm getting out of here. And then we started talking to someone. And all of a sudden, I look up and Ridgefield's threatening down 2 scores. And I'm like, I guess I have to take my camera out again. I guess I'm not leaving. So
Greenwich plays Shelton up there at Finn Stadium. I can't remember the last. I don't think Greenwich has ever been to Finn Stadium now that I really think about it, unless they played a state championship game back in the day. But it's been a changed play. But that's a great matchup. I mean, that's a really fascinating one. They have history. They played in 2 state championships, 20 and 15 years ago. And Greenwich won the second one. And obviously Danny Orlovsky won Shelton's championship in 2000. That should be a really fascinating. I actually had a chance to go see Shelton play Amity. My old alma mater finally has a turf field, which in 2021 is just absolutely amazing. The rest of the SEC has basically been a turf league for the last 10 years. And Amity, like the last one, even Hill House, they renovated Bowen Field before Amity got the Sim complex, the Johnson Field, the Sim complex, all gussied up. But I hadn't seen Amity before. And I get there, I see our boy Jack Coughlin, the St. Joseph transfer, and I see his brother Pat. And I actually went there for those 2 guys. And let me tell you something, Jack Coughlin, how the heck did I forget him in the top? I mean, not top, but the 25 players to watch, Pete.
I don't know. I was, I'll be honest with you. I didn't even think of it either. I just remember when you were like, I'm going to go to the Amity game. I want to see the Coughlin brothers. And it just clicked in my head. And I was like, Sean, we left him off the 25 players to watch. How did we do that? He's going to Navy to play lacrosse. They might want him to.
They want him to play football.
He was starting on the St. Joe's defense when they won a state title 2 years ago. Like, how did we forget him? Like, I don't know. It was
boggles the mind.
It was a brain fart of epic proportions. My apologies. This is the second week in a row I'm apologizing to an entire family. I apologize to the Coughlin family. Last week was the Morrisseys, which I made amends with them on Friday night.
Good.
With the father, Pat, and a couple of the cousins who were on the sidelines. But so now, I'd like to make a public apology to the Coughlin family. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm sorry we left you. I'm sorry, Stanford Steve. If you're listening, we did not mean to offend your nephew. He should have 100% been on that list. We just forgot.
I'm of the mind that, we left them off because, let's give the other kids a chance. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah. He's obviously one of the best players. It's not a top 25. Let's everybody calm down. We got killed left and right of who we left on. I mean, Thierry's killing us. We have all these other guys that I did not hear one peep out of John Coughlin, their dad, Stanford Seed's brother. I did not hear one. He did not say a word. He didn't say, Sean, how could you do us dirty like that? Not one thing. The guy is just, they just do their jobs heads down.
Just make sure Fornabaya puts him on the 25 to watch for boys lacrosse, okay?
Well, let me tell you something about Coughlin. Now, the first thing, I'm like, I came here to watch him. I'm like, I can't believe I did this. What does he do first play? First Shelton drive, interception in the end zone. You're like, oh boy, he's gonna really stick it home here. And then Shelton gets the balls back. Another key moment. Picks off a pass, takes it down to the 10-yard line. I'm like, oh my god, he's got 2 interceptions already. I'm in big trouble. But Shelton's defense showed up too, including Matt Lokovich and Joey Gelati with the sack, strips him, forces the fumble. Jeff Wojciech recovers, and Shelton's defense ends the scoring threat. And, next thing you know, it's 0-0, and Amity hasn't beaten Shelton in since 2005. I'm looking back at, there was a bad Shelton year. And I think that was the year, or one of those years, 2005. But the thing was, Shelton got the ball to start they had 3 and out. The defense played great. 3 and out to start the third quarter. And they got the ball, and with a short field, it's 4th and just about 3 or so. Aiden King made a great play, gets the second ever, goes in, and then that was it. Shelton scored the 2 touchdowns, and their defense played a great game. Amity not bad at all. Now Shelton 2-0. They're finished warming up. They got a big game versus number 4 Greenwich at Finn Stadium. I don't know about Shelton though. Their offense might need a little work, but they were pretty happy about this one.
We ran the huddle. He told me what play we were gonna run, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm gonna get it. I was hoping for a touchdown, but I had to fight for the extra yards no matter what.
That was a big deal. Needed it to change the way the game was going. Kept messing up down near the goal line in the red zone. Big pick me up. Get that first score.
How about the defense tonight?
Oh, our defense is amazing. One of the best in the state. We're coming out every game shutting teams out.
Not a pretty 2-0, but
not a pretty 2-0. Yeah. But we'll take it. Get better every day.
I think they perform well, other than a couple issues here and there, letting a couple holes through. But the linebackers, I thought, filled the gaps pretty well. Made my job a lot easier.
Not a pretty 2-0, but I'm sure you guys will take it, right?
2-0 is 2-0. Yeah, correct. You always got to correct what you did wrong, but still feels good going into the weekend.
There's Aiden King and my boy Matt Weiner, the big boy, the big lineman. Funny thing quick about him before we go on. Weiner goes, you don't want to talk to me. I don't want to say cliches. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Let's just put you on camera and see what happens. And he was great. As you saw, he was great. I mean, I don't know. Pete, your thoughts about this game, Shelton and Ridgefield, Greenwich.
Their defenses have been great, and they're gritty.
Yeah,
and
another Lokovich.
They fight on the line of scrimmage, and they're great on the line of scrimmage. But I think they just need to get that offense going, and then they'll be the Shelton that we know and fear.
Just kind of going a little bit around the state on Saturday, I got to see Hall, this kid Leo Perreira, who had scored. When we recorded our last podcast, he had that night. I think it was Monday Night Football, right? They played East Hartford because they got their game pushed. Yeah, they got their game pushed because of COVID reason. They got it the Monday. And this kid, Leo Perreira, who I obviously never heard of, scored 6 touchdowns in a victory over there, a shootout victory. And then they're playing a Simsbury team, because they had the extra days off. They needed the extra day off. So they played at 10 a.m. up in West Hartford. And, Simsbury, we already talked about a bit last week. Evan Wallace was great. First couple times he touched the ball, he scored touchdowns. But this Hall offense, let me tell you, man, it's not just Perreira, who had, another 200 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, including the winner. But it's also this quarterback, Eli Solomons, who completed 14, Pete, of 16 passes for a 200 and change and 2 touchdowns. This offense can move the ball. Whenever they needed to answer Simsbury, man, they did. It was a interesting game. Now, I've never been to a Hartford game, a West Hartford game before. But let me tell you something about this place. I don't know if it's their regular PA guy, but whoever this guy was, he was hysterical. He was I knew something was up when he started admonishing people, Pete, for not being chipper enough and loud enough for a 10 o'clock game. As I said, usually I don't like the PA announcers kind of getting a little too into the game. But this guy was like, if the best way I can describe it is he was the guy from, if you ever seen Robert Altman's MASH, he was a deadpan. It's an announcement, but it's a funny announcement. And you knew you were in trouble when he started throwing shade at when they were beating Simsbury. He started saying like the Hall baseball teams having their fundraiser, and we're having it at your field, at your golf course, and your golf pro is a West Hartford, and his kids go to Hall. So he goes, join us for our fundraiser on your golf course.
Simsbury fans, we cordially invite you to join us on your golf course.
With your golf pro.
You called me on Saturday and were telling me about it. And like, I've said my piece numerous times on this show about PA announcers. That's funny. I get a big kick out of that because like you're not really paying attention to what they're saying, and then you hear it and you're like, wait, did they just say something like that? It's the PA announcers for me who like call play-by-play that drive me up a wall. Yeah. You're like video or we're recording or you're watching the game and you're like, you could hear the PA guy be like, oh, watch out for the guy on the right or watch out for the fake. There was one game where the PA announcer was like, oh, could be a fake here. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
That drives me bonkers, but this guy sounds absolutely incredible.
I have his name here somewhere and I cannot find it for the life of me, but he was hysterical. And I did have a clip. Let's get a listen to that. But I'm going to preface this by saying he began this because I wasn't taking any footage of this guy or anything. I'm like, I got to record this for Pete. He goes at halftime. He says, please, just deadpan, please take a look at our great selection at the Booster Club's the concession stand. He goes, I can't tell you how good the cookies are unless someone brings me one to the press box. And here he is right now. That I'm like, I got to record the rest of it.
I want to take this time to thank the people who took me seriously and sent chocolate chip cookies to the press box. And ladies and gentlemen, the chocolate chip cookies are that good.
And he's like, here are you? We're gonna have an auction for this glove. Take this glove. Look at this glove. I have this glove out here, and he's like, getting back to my glove.
I won this at the Friends of Hall baseball golf tournament 2 years ago.
Oh God! Oh Pete, it was just good. I mean, if you have a chance, this guy's funny, man. I don't normally like the PA guys going nutty, but this guy was hysterical. And then the other game I saw was Coginchaug, who was giving us the business, Pete, about picking against them en masse about their 14-0 victory over Valley Regional. Valley Regional had some guys out because of COVID, but our guy here, Anthony Toth. He was. It was only 14-0, but he ran for 114 yards and had a touchdown. And when they needed to put the game away, they gave the ball to this kid, and he just carried a bunch of Valley Regional guys on his back and ran that clock out. Mike Eagle with big win, and here he is now talking about they're gonna Denny's. They're gonna Denny's.
I think that was great. We were talking about all week because we know GameTimeCT. They all voted against us, so we were talking about that. We were getting riled up. We wanted this. We wanted this bad.
Yeah, and you gotta get that rock, man. And they're like, we're gonna keep feeding you, and you're like carrying like 6 or 7 guys a pop. How does that feel to put away a game like that?
It was definitely tiring. I was really hoping they were gonna give it to someone else at least one time, but it was great because I knew I was finishing the game for the team, and it was just great to finish it.
How about the guys up front for you making those?
Oh my gosh, we're going to Denny's. We're gonna get some pancakes. They were going crazy this game.
Denny's, huh?
Yeah.
Where do you guys go?
The one in I think Wallingford. I don't know, somewhere around there.
Let's go, Toth! Let's go! I'm sorry, I had to play subterfuge there.
My man, yo. I love you, bro. This is one of the people who blocked me.
Yeah!
They're beasts. You know how we do it.
No one can stop this man.
They can't stop these guys either.
So that was my Saturday, Pete. Good looking.
I don't like Denny's.
Huh?
I don't like Denny's.
It's not like Sizzler, right?
I mean, I grew up more of an IHOP guy. Like if we went to any burger,
I'm definitely an IHOP guy.
But like in college, across the street from our house, at the end of our block, at the top of our block, we had a Denny's off exit 59 on the Merritt. And we'd go there a lot. They have bacon on everything, which I can really appreciate, but just not a big Denny's guy.
Yeah, well, what can you do? I mean, I'm with you on. I do like there's a great place in with State Street. Where is it? In North Haven, there's a great breakfast place, State Street Cafe, I think. And then
I went there a couple.
Great place. If you're gonna go bring your guys, that's a place to go to. That certainly. But just going quickly around the state, there's some interesting. I mean, just some highlights, some performance here. Cam Edwards continues to just crush it for Norwalk. And what can you tell us about him?
He's good. And the thing is, he was on our 25 players to watch list.
Yeah.
But he played as a sophomore. He was good as a sophomore for obvious reasons. He played for Sean Ireland. He rushed for close to 700 yards, had 12 touchdowns as a sophomore. He's got 7 this year already. He had 30 catches. Like, he's a player. And I think, Pat Miller coming from Shan, where Pat was the OC when they had Jordan Davis, Terrence Bogan, and he was on the staff when they had Zach Davis. Like, Coach Miller knows when he has a guy, and he's not going to be afraid to give him the ball in any capacity, whether it's in the air, whether it's on the ground. He's going to put the ball in his best player's hands, and that's what he's doing right now with Cam. And Cam's a stud. And the numbers are the numbers, like Michael Jordan said, the sky is the ceiling or the roof is the ceiling, but like the numbers are the numbers, and the kid is just flat out balling.
5 touchdowns, 4 rushing, 1 from 82 yards out, and 1 receiving. They crushed Ward 46-13. Another guy who had a great game we didn't really talk about was Nick Saku from Massac. Steve Christie. We left him off our top performers last week. He had a pretty good start. He ran for 158 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a win over Bunnell, which is pretty good because Bunnell's now 1-1. They beat up on Pomperog. And then last week they played Stratford. He went over there and he just 239 yards and 5 touchdowns for Saku. So Steve Christie wanted to make sure we got him in this time. So hopefully we did. Another guy who had a great game, encore performance, Christian Garcia from Hartford Public. We talked with Harry Bellucci last week. And this kid is just crushing it. I mean, an interception return and return to punt 53 yards. It turned out to be the winning one. It's setting up a 2-point conversion run with about 5:56 left. 14-13 over Lewis Mills. The Owls are 2-0. The kid's a player. I saw him again in that first game against Northwest Catholic, and yikes. That's I can't be too surprised. And then you have Austin Howell from Newington. He had another great game. Caught 3 touchdowns, ran for another, converted 5 2-pointers. 5, which is second best all time
in the game.
Yeah, 52-42. Outlasting Manchester's got a pretty good quarterback at Adrian Parker, who's had a pretty good game, but they're 0-2. That's been tough for them. And then the other guy I want to talk about real quick is Soren Reef from Killingley. I mean, we all talk about Jack Sharp. This is Jack Sharp's understudy. He's actually kind of stealing the spotlight a little bit. Yeah, Jack Sharp was the lead rusher last week, but he wasn't in week 1. And some crazy things going on there. And they already have his replacement grooming. He's a sophomore.
Yeah. I just want to do quickly shout out Stonington. Won their first game in 1,100 days. Snapped a really long losing streak. They won 60-0. 9 different players scored a touchdown.
Oh, my goodness.
9.
Wow. You know what? It was a really interesting game in the ECC was how about Woodstock Academy.
Taking NFA down to the wire.
They were leading the entire game. This kid, Ethan Davis. Now, Scott Erickson did their preview, and Ethan Davis, they're like, he was a quarterback when he was a sophomore. And I'm like, okay, Then I looked up Woodstock Academy's ECC record since they were a program. It's like they won 5 games, and 2 of them came in 2019. Now they've won a 6th game, and they almost won their 7th. And now they're all chirping. Now they could have won that game. NFA had a rally to take the lead, 21-14. Woodstock it's 21-14. Woodstock goes down and scores immediately with about 46 seconds left. Davis they do a little reverse. They do like a double reverse. Ethan Davis has the ball, gets just stopped just short of the goal line, and then they get the onside kick and go down. They kick a field goal, gets blocked, and NFA survives. But Woodstock, that was pretty impressive, man. That was an eye-opener for me. They've beaten NFA before, but
once.
a long
it's
time ago.
It's always interesting when NFA plays ECC teams because, with the whole history of the ECC and NFA and it's like Woodstock and the entire ECC against NFA. I feel like that happens all the time. A lot of people are probably rooting for Woodstock to win that game. That was a crazy close game. Granby, Stafford was as well. Stafford scored with 4 minutes left, and Coach Brian Mazzone went for 2. It failed, and Granby held on to win 20-19.
There were
Luke Marr.
There were 4
defensive touchdowns in that game.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, Luke Marr, he had a pick 6, rush for 141 and a touchdown. Logan Briggs was on the 25 players to watch list.
That was your contribution.
He apparently, Granby just locked him up offensively because he is a player. All right, he couldn't do it on offense. He had a pick 6 and a 40-yard fumble return for a touchdown. So he's not going to beat you on offense. He's going to beat you on defense. But that's a great Pequot matchup. But I really think losing to SMSA and Granby handling SMSA week 1, and now they beat Stafford. I really think Granby Canton might be the team to beat up there. And then obviously you have Cromwell Portland down, along the shoreline of the Pequot. It's a pretty good team too. So I think we might see a little shift at the top of power in the Pequot this year.
I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our guys from Hamden beating West Haven for the first time since 2009, since Scott Benoit was there. This was the first time that our guy Tom Dyer beat them there, and they beat him in overtime 13-6. How about this guy Cameron Winder? All right, so 2 block punts, an 81-yard interception return, and he broke up the 4th down pass that won him the game in overtime. I mean,
have a day.
Yeah, have a day. I mean, you have 2 block punts. I mean, meanwhile, Fairfield Prep is in a barn. I didn't even talk about Prep as we wrap up here. Fairfield Prep, we're like singing their praises. We're mea culping them. Sorry for doubting you, blah, blah, blah. They're in the top 10 at number 7, and they barely got out of there against Hillhouse. If it weren't for their special teams, 3 block punts, 2 for touchdowns, an unbelievable performance. They're just getting out of there alive. Oh, my goodness. Crazy. There's a lot of wild games, and I'm sure we missed a few of them here. But let's just quickly go through the top 10. Not a lot of changes here except for 1. Going up from the bottom, number 10, Killingly, 2-0. Number 9, Daniel Hand. Hand had their game versus Sheehan postponed because of COVID. Apparently, East Haven played Sheehan, someone there, contact tracing, and wiped out the Lyman Hall game and the Sheehan game versus Hand. So Hand didn't get to play this week. They got New Canaan coming to town. That should be a real barn burner there. Number 8 is Xavier still. They are going to, I don't know where they're playing at Ridgefield. Do you know where they're playing in Ridgefield, Pete?
Yeah, apparently they have a second turf field at Ridgefield. So apparently that's where it is right now. I have reached out
next to Tiger Hollow?
I believe so.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Apparently there's going to be a lot of lawn chairs.
Yeah. Number 8 is Xavier. 2-0. They wiped out Wilbur-Cross 56-12. Number 7, Fairfield Prep. We just talked about him, and wow. That was interesting. Hillhouse, I'd like to. You got my attention, Hillhouse. That was an interesting result there. Number 6 is Southington 2-0. They beat Glastonbury up 28-7. Number 5, New Canaan 2-0. Who's giving New Canaan schedule to New Canaan? I mean, it's ridiculous. They're playing McMahon, they're playing Bridgeport Central. I mean, is that what you and Darien also getting some of the struggling teams? Yeah, you got to do better than that, FCX. They're number 5, New Canaan. They're finally going to get their big first game after getting a little warm up here. Number 4, Greenwich. Talked about them. They got 1 first place vote. They drop from 3, probably because people are like, hey, you can't take your foot off the gas there. Number 3, Newtown with 3 first place votes. They lost 1. How about that? As we head into this week. And then number 2, St. Joseph, 5 first place vote. And of course, number 1, Darien with 13. They're getting more. And guess what's coming up this week? We didn't talk about it, but we will all week on GameTimeCT. It's Newtown versus Darien 3 of the last 3 years. Obviously, you know what happened in Newtown Darien 2, which was the state championship, the class below final one on a walk-off. We've talked about it ad nauseum, and I'm sure Darien wants to erase that from everybody's memory. Pete, just some quick thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I went down to Darien practice on Monday and got to talk to David Ivanchek, who played on the field was on the field that game for the final play. Miles Drake, the Darien quarterback, who was actually in the press box filming, and Coach Mike Forget, who was the defensive coordinator at the time. And, they're excited for another chance. Obviously, the stakes aren't as high. And I think even David Ivanchuk told me, we expected to see them in the playoffs the next time we had a season. I don't think they were expecting them to see them in the regular season. Maybe we'll get a part 5 or 4 in the playoffs. But they're chomping at the bit. They're ready to go. They're excited. And this is bigger than them. And I spoke to them. I was like, oh, is there a buzz going on at school? And Ivanchuk was like, it's more from the alumni. It's the guys who were on the field that day who, lost and they graduated, or the guys who were juniors who didn't have a senior season. That's who they're playing for. And I think, I don't want to speak for Newtown, but I think it's kind of the same way. If you don't think that some of these guys from Newtown are hearing from Jack Street or Riley Ward or Jared Dunn or James Knox, being like, hey, keep it going. We got ourselves onto the center stage. We proved a lot of people wrong. We shut a lot of people up. Keep it going. Don't make it seem like it was a fluke. So I think there's a lot on the line in this game, other than the number ones, in the poll, because if Newtown wins, they should be number 1 if they knock off Darien. Mm-hmm. But who knows how the poll is going to shake out next week. If Newtown wins, the pick'ems are coming out the day after this is released. So, I don't want to spoil who picked what, but, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah. I'm anxious to see that. I like these alliance games, Pete. These matchups. I just think they're, I don't think we need another couple of weeks of this stuff. I think it's a little bit too much. You heard me. If anyone might have heard me on George Mayo's show talking about it. I think the crossover, the one crossover is good, but
I like 2. I
don't like the 2. I just want these.
I don't like the 4. The 4 crossovers is ridiculous because the NVL and the Pequot need to get with it. I think we'll see the Pequot in the Alliance maybe as early as next year. That's a guess. I have no information on that. I just think that, reading Jeff's column from a couple of weeks ago, the Pequot has interest. The Pequot has piqued their interest, or the Alliance has piqued the Pequot's interest. Say that 3 times fast. Yeah. But I think, if they can get everyone involved, I think it will lessen those games from 4 to 2 or 1. Because this slate of games is exciting. Next week's looks kind of exciting too, right? Prep Greenwich, Cheshire Norwalk, St. Joe's Xavier. Those are good games. They pique my interest.
There's something to be said about playing in leagues here, and I don't know if the Pequot needs it, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe you get one crossover, which is kind of, but I think you need to figure that. But there's a whole nother show we could do about that. But I just like the idea of teams playing rivals, and some of these games, man. It's just not going to move the needle. The fans won't come out for them. It's going to be crickets there. Nobody cares. If we're going to have this stuff, let's get it a little bit closer. If you're going to match them up by your size or your power, then let's come up with a formula and match them up into a league. You play 7 games, and then, you can do with that what you will, and you actually win something. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I've talked about that a bunch in the off season. And all that stuff. They are exciting games, so I'm fired up about this stuff. Obviously, this game against Darien and Newtown is going to be a huge one, and it's going to get a lot of interest in high school football. The high school football season is going to be packed place down at Darien. It's going to be a lot of fun, and with COVID still out there, kind of mucking with the schedules. We haven't seen any forfeits yet, but I'm almost guaranteed we're going to see one. It'd be nice to kind of not think about that stuff and watch a really good football game. So with that said, we got to get Jeff Jacobs on here to talk a little bit about his big cross-state trip last Saturday in the CTC from Quinebaug to Amity. Back from his long ride to the opposite end of the state and back. He's here to talk about it. Jeff, welcome back. What can you tell us? How was that trip on Saturday?
It was a hoot. It was great. My only disappointment was that I didn't get the ride in the blue bus of the technical schools because they didn't use them. They used the 2 yellow buses. Coach Joe told me that they take up some of the back benches in the bus and put supplies back there, so they couldn't fit all the kids. So they just use yellow buses. But it was great. It was great.
Yeah, 220 miles round trip. That's a lot of. Did you get to put mileage in with our company?
I did not. It was only about 9 miles, I believe, from my house to Ellis Tech and Gillingly. So I will put in for 18 miles round trip.
Well, I
the
mean,
other ones are on me.
If you haven't read the column yet, I highly recommend it. Tagging along with the longest, ride of the year. It's on GameTimeCT.com. But I mean, a yellow bus doesn't have TV. Some teams take coach buses where they have TV. What were the kids doing to, stay? What were they doing on the bus for that long? Because I hated taking the bus to school.
Yeah, it's good. These kids were really good going to the game. They put their headphones on, talked quietly among themselves, took naps. Their star running back, Lee Chiavetti, he went out for a nap almost as soon as he got on the bus, which was a good thing because these are two-way players in 80-degree heat. This is not one-way FCAC stuff, So he got his nap in, but it was there's no lavatories either on a yellow bus, and the going out there was smooth. You got 101 to 44. And then you jump on. You're 44 to 74. Then you get on I-84 out near Yukon, and you go all the way to Danbury. But it got backed up on I-84 near Danbury, so they got off early. And unfortunately, it was nothing but a lot of traffic and red lights. And as one player said, "Hey, you got AC?" And the bus driver said, "I wish." So it got toasty in there. The last 15, 20 minutes was a little toasty. And then another player yelled out, "Hey, I'm going to have to pee out the window." And Coach Joe Asamelli,
Joe is
great
awesome.
about this. He's really great. He played at Hofstra. He's a big guy, and he just turned around and said, "Relax, 6 more. Oh, you only got 6 more minutes." Like I said, it got very long. It was 2:21 in, and the game only took 2:06.
Jeff, I don't know if it's changed since I was in high school, which out of the three of us, I was in high school, the most recent. But I thought all the cool kids sat in the back.
Oh, they do. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I'm not the cool. Yeah. I did make one. I thought I made a great call. I left the front row open for Coach Joe because when I covered the National Hockey League, you always left the front row up for the coach. And then if there were any assistants, then the media. So I got into the second row, but he put me back in the front row because he wanted to sit next to Darryl Brown.
So this was on the way there, 2.5 hours or whatever, change. Very focused. I mean, you talked a lot about focus in the game. They got a big game. This is a team that, very good in the CTC, and they're really, really focused. And then they go out there and they blow their doors out, which was shocking to me. I was stunned. I mean, usually ATI is a great program, and they still are. Chris Pace does a great job. He hadn't lost the game at Bullard Havens, and then they come out here. You have Quinebaug Valley coming out from after this long bus ride, and then it must have been just bedlam on the ride home. Everyone's focused, and then they play.
It was bedlam on the field. The pregame talk, I ducked into the huddle there, and Coach Asamelli was talking we're going to hit him with full speed, full attack mode. They haven't played a game yet. They didn't play the first week ATI, and so that was a big thing with them to go full attack on them early on and see what happens. And then he gave a real good. I thought he gave a pretty good rousing speech about whatever it takes, 3-0, 31-1, and. It was there's going to be cramp in there. It's going to be hot. It's going to hurt and all of that. Let them make the excuses. We won't make any. They just dominated. They had a big day, and then afterwards, it was beautiful. He gathered them. All the players in baseball wait for the guy at home plate after it's a game-winning home run. He runs into it. They wait for the coach to do that. And they all were going nuts. Every time I'm going nuts. And then he gave this great speech. He goes, "Look at guys, it's like I told my wife when I asked her to marry her. I love football and I love you, and they all went nuts. So it was just being on the kind of on the inside and watching all this transpire was really fun.
Well, Jeff, when was your last tech league game? I mean, you covered one before?
The only tech league game I ever covered, and it was really, this one left me very dismayed. It was Cheney Tech at Killingly in a state playoff game. And it was like a lot to a little right from the start.
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like, listen, I've been to a few of them and they're fun football games. The kids get into it. So, I mean, we look at it from like do they belong in the state playoffs? Do they belong in, and they may not, maybe they belong in another type of division or maybe a lesser division, but there is no question. This is a relatively new phenomenon. The tech leagues, the tech league having a football league as little as 15 years ago, there were only a handful of teams, Bullard Havens, and I think that was it, playing tech football. And you have all these games, you talk about participation. What do you think? I mean, it's a great league, I think. What do you think what's their place in the state?
I'll admit I've had a jaundiced view of it at times, but after that was one of the things that coming out of this experience that I loved the most. Those kids. Well, first of all, a lot of the kids, about half the teams from Ellis Tech, and they come from several towns. These kids, they're already working. They're already focused. A lot of them, they're not going to go to college. Like Chiavetti, the coach told me he was going to be a plumber. And the quarterback, Mike O'Mara, he's going to be a barber. He has a nice head of hair already, so I think he's suitable. But, these are going to be our pipe fitters and our plumbers and our electricians.
And they're going to make bank.
Great living. But they love football every bit as much as kids that, that want to play in college and everything like that. So from that standpoint, it was really fun to watch. So it was really cool. That was, and just being that's the first time I've been on a high school bus athletic team since I was in high school, which was a zillion years ago. The
thing I take out of this thing is that, listen, there's a big balance of power shift in the CTC. Bullard Havens looks like, they got wiped out by Thames River the other day. And, we were talking a bit offline that these two teams, if this thing keeps up, they're as good as we think they are. They could be a showdown there for a state playoff spot for Thanksgiving Day between them and Thames River. They're both in Class L. Imagine that. Could be for a playoff spot, and for next thing you know, you're gonna be facing Hand first round or whatever.
We talked about how many of these schools have lost enrollment, but the tech schools, they're hanging in there, right? As far as like kids, so there's a lot of kids at these tech schools, and not all of them are all as centric on sports as some other schools. So that's what kind of inflates the numbers, and not necessarily inflates the numbers for what class you're in, but not necessarily on how many players they have. I think QV had about 45 players. That was about that, which is more than like some of these other schools. Look at Plainfield is way down, lowest numbers in 30 years. Griswold, I think that they started with like 30, 31. They had injuries. They've gotten smoked a couple times. The co-ops even out here could be, well, Griswold's already in with Wheeler, but there could be more co-ops going ahead with this. So it really is this is both a tech and a co-op. So there's, these are things, it's kind of the way of the future. I mean, the FCAC's not going that way, but a lot of other schools in the state are.
All right. Well, we appreciate you taking that big trip. It was a long way there, but I think we got our money's worth, certainly. And certainly Quinebaug Valley got their money's worth. They won the game, so they had a great time. And we're looking forward to seeing them down the road. They're going to be some pretty big games. But thanks, Jeff, for going out there. We appreciate you joining us for a little bit here. And we'll catch you next week. We'll talk all about Newtown, Darien.
Yeah, they are not tech schools.
Yeah, no, certainly not. All right. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you in a bit. So, Pete, that was Jeff Jacobs getting a little cross-state action there from giving the CTC a little love. We appreciate him coming on. And with that said, let's get to our guest this week. Joining us on the show is the head football coach of Ledyard High School. It's Mike Serricchio. Well, are you the first year coach? Or are you the second year coach? We don't really know how to really kind of do this. You didn't play any games last year, but you were hired last year in the spring. So what do you say? Are you the second year coach or the first year coach?
It's an interesting question. I think the appropriate thing to say is first year head coach, because these are the first football games that I'm coaching. So I guess I am the first year head coach.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us here at GameTimeCT After Dark, as you can tell by our low lighting here now. Well, welcome aboard. 2-0 at Ledyard. That's pretty exciting. It must be really fun right now. You're taking over a program coach that has struggled, has a lot of guys come in and out of there since Jim Bunicor, your boss, left and took a front office job, as I would say. And he replaced a legend in Bill Mignall, the guy who's on the field. And now here you are, 28 years old. Tell me about the challenge you face, and how good is it to be 2-0 to get started here? Yeah, well, 2-0 is very nice, but it's not the goal. And the goal is to win every football game we play. And so I'd be lying if I said it's not nice to have some success, especially considering the past years. For the kids more than anybody else, having them experience 2 wins right off the bat has been really special. But like you said, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here, and there's been so much success in the past at Ledyard. My whole thing was, we're not starting from scratch. We're rebuilding. We're getting it back to where it was. It's a proud community that loves football and wants to see the football team succeed. So I've had nothing but the utmost support from everybody involved. And so again, to put a winning product in the field so far has been nice, for the community but mostly for the players. They kind of rolled out the red carpet there for you. They have a brand new field. They kind of set everything perfect up. You couldn't ask for a better situation to be in, to kind of ease you into this. Plus you had a year off. I'm not a year off, but you had last year's pandemic, which stunk, I'm sure. But I don't know, for a new coach, young, just getting into this. I mean, was that I don't want to say blessing in disguise, but considering what we had to deal with, was it nice to at least, be able to kind of get to know the kids that way? Yeah, it's interesting because there's pros and cons, like anything else. Having a year to organize and get all your ducks in a row, is good. But, not having that game experience, being under the lights and having, the pressure on, kind of delaying that for a year, was the not so nice part of that whole deal. But, there's a silver lining in any situation, no matter which way you look at it. And, dealing with all that adversity with the kids last year, was, in a way, a beautiful thing. We're going to look back on that in years to come and look at it fondly. It was absolutely insane. It was obviously unprecedented. Obviously, that's a buzzword these days. So it was a wild ride, but I think the kids who stuck with it and who are still with us now are much, much better off, for it as players and as people. To go through something like that where you don't really have a plan because there's nothing to go off of and you're kind of just shooting from the hip every day. You don't know what you're going to get. It was definitely valuable. So I'm grateful for everything that's happened, and everything happens for a reason, and we're here now. Take me a little bit. So you're a Springfield guy, Springfield College. Yep. You grew up in Stamford, right? Sure did. And you went to King School. Take us kind of through your football journey here. So first of all, King School, how come? And what was the benefit of going to that nice institution? Yeah, so we're gonna turn back the clocks all the way back to, I think it was 4th grade. I started playing tackle football for Stamford Youth, which was an experience I look back on to this day very fondly. I met my best friend on the team, Trey Tipton, who was a very good football player in his own right. And so Trey's dad and my dad were on staff on our Pee Wee team, and Trey was slotted to go to King that following year, and that piqued my dad's interest. So he looked into it, and we got to talk to Coach Gowan, the legendary coach down at King, who's had a ton of success over the years and who's a mentor to me and like a father figure to me. And so one thing led to another, and I ended up there in 6th grade. And it was, something that I'll be forever grateful for, and I'll be forever indebted to that institution because it was such an unbelievable experience. It's kind of similar to the kids here who play with, all their friends growing up through the youth system. And so me and all my buddies played from 6th grade all the way through 12th grade together because King had a middle school.
we played on the middle school team and then up, through varsity in high school. And I got a chance to play with two once-in-a-lifetime players in Kevin Pierre-Louis and Silas Red, who are very good friends of mine and are unbelievable human beings as well as football players. And so similar to Ledyard, King had kind of struggled for years and years and years prior to our glory days, so to speak. And so once we got that thing rolling, it was really special to be a part of that. And again, to play football with two individuals who just simply do not come around so often. And so, their success kind of, I guess, parlayed into motivation for me to be, the best I could be, because we were all trying to, do everything that we could do to be the best football team possible. And so on top of those two, we had a handful of other guys end up playing college football from those teams. I went to Springfield. My buddy Max Bordaki played at Princeton. Jimmy Georges went to Western New England. Joe Santoro eventually went to Springfield College as well. And so we had guys that love football, and it was a tremendous environment and a culture to be a part of. And again, it's a credit to Coach Gowan for setting the stage, so much so that I went back after my undergrad was done at Springfield to coach there. And we had some pretty good teams then too. We won, 2 New England championships, which we actually weren't able to do in my years there. So being a coach and a player there was really awesome. And, the King School will always have a special place in my heart. And that's where I, cut my teeth as a coach before I went back to Springfield. And so again, I'm so grateful for King and Coach Gowan most of all.
So at King, I looked up your max prep stats.
Yeah.
So you a little quarterback, little running back, I see.
Yeah, it's a weird career arc for me.
Yeah, because then you played offensive line in college.
That's right. Yeah. So
how do you go from taking snaps to blocking for the quarterback?
I'll tell you. So, coming up in youth, I was really shifty. I had moves. I played running back and quarterback. I had some success, and then I got to King. I was still kind of a smaller kid. Played quarterback and defensive back through like my sophomore year. And then I really started to enjoy, lifting weights, and got super, super into lifting weights, so much so that I was an exercise science undergrad at Springfield. And I got up to like 190 pounds my junior year. And Coach Gowan decided to put me at fullback and linebacker, which was the most fun. I didn't really like ever playing quarterback. It was just kind of something that ended up happening. And I had a strong arm, but I wasn't back there slinging the rock. I was just giving it to Kevin and Silas. You know what I mean? So I got in the mix there, and I got recruited to play linebacker at Springfield, which I still think is a coup to this day, but that's a different story. Because the first day I got there, they moved me to offensive line, and so I quickly realized that I wasn't as fast as I thought I was, and I ended up playing offensive line, and honestly, it was the most fun I've ever had playing football in my entire life. And the offensive line culture at Springfield is singular and unique. And again, I'm so happy it happened, because I think it first of all helped me as a coach, but second of all, I truly do believe that the game is won on the line of scrimmage, and no matter what system you're running, no matter who you have or who you're playing. And we had some really good games at Springfield, man, where we got it rolling, and 400 or 500 yards later, we had won the game. And so, as weird as it is, I enjoyed it all so much. But again, looking back, I wish I would just played guard, when I was little, because it ended up happening that way anyway. But it was such a blast, man. It was awesome.
That's fascinating, because I saw you on the Springfield side as offensive line, and I've seen photos. You're like, hey, he's a big guy, and then I pull up max preps, and I see 19 for 30, 68 completion percentage. I'm like, yeah, this kid wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and I was a baseball player, and again, I had a strong arm, and so at Springfield we ran option, and so those kids couldn't really throw all that well. And so on Thursday practices, we had this period called special plays, where they kind of just let us do whatever we wanted. So every Thursday, I would get back there in the shotgun and let one fly 50 yards, let the quarterbacks know that I know what I'm doing. You don't have the strongest arm in the team, so let's not get it twisted. I'm a Swiss Army knife.
I just use that term to describe some other kid, but yeah.
Yeah, you go down, I'm next in line.
Yeah.
But not really, obviously, because big and slow. But
So, you're at Springfield, and well, tell me about Ledyard. How did this come up, and did you know you must have done some of your homework, and did you know what you were going to get into? I mean, it's like you said, standing on the shoulders of giants there. Bunacore was great, and then obviously Bill Mignol, and then Bunacore's dad, and you following him, he was at New London, but there's some history you're following there, and here you are, 28. I mean, I think I got my first big gig when I was 28, and it's kind of, here it is. This is the moment here. But tell us about how'd you get the Ledyard job, and how'd you became interested in it, and then what happened?
yeah, so I was a GA at Springfield College, and being a GA at Springfield College is also a singular experience because, GAs at the higher levels are kind of just an extra set of hands that do a lot of busy work most of the time. But at Springfield, you're a position coach. So you have your own position to coach. You're a full-time recruiter with your own area, and you're also getting a master's degree on top of that. And so I got the full college football experience at Springfield. I knew very quickly that college football is not what I wanted to do. And I always knew that, but it cemented itself at Springfield because I loved doing what I did there because Springfield College means so much to me, and working for Coach Sarasula was a no-brainer for me. But I knew that after Springfield, it was time to go back and coach high school. And so one of my best friends in the world, who I met at Springfield College, is Bobby Bosom. And Bobby Bosom is a Ledyard legend. And so when I was a junior, Bobby was a freshman. And so we became very close. He's as prideful of an alumni as we have at Ledyard High School. And so he was very quick to drop a Ledyard name whenever he could. Me and Bob ended up being on the same staff at Springfield. He was the offensive line coach, and I was the receivers coach. And so we spent a ton of time together. Like when you're a GA at Springfield, you just see the same 8 dudes like 24 hours a day, 365. And so he alerted me when the Ledyard job was open. And again, as passionate as he is about Ledyard, he feels the same way about Jim Bunacore. And he, let me know how much support I would get from Coach Bunacore and how, proud the program was and how it's been, hectic over the last couple of years. And they kind of just need some stability and direction. And, he thought I was qualified. So I totally jumped on it and I applied. And I'm forever grateful for Coach Bunacore for taking a chance on me. And here we are.
That's a good endorsement, Gary, getting Bobby Bosom to step up for you. And Bobby just got I didn't realize this until just now. So Bobby, if you're listening, I just followed you on Twitter just now. I didn't even realize.
I promise you he will listen to this for sure.
Yeah, he follows me and I'm like, oops. He's at Yale now. He got the job last year. So congratulations, Coach Bosom.
Yeah.
Bosom, that's awesome.
Yeah, quick aside, Bobby Bosom's as good as a young O-line coach as there is around. Like that kid can coach his face off. And he's at a great spot in Yale, but Bobby Bosom is a hell of a football coach. And again, an even better person. That's my guy.
Well, like I said, it's a good thing. If you're going to get an endorsement, there's one right there. I mean, you buy. So, and so you're there. And, but, tell me about the Outlaws. Now, this has obviously been a key piece here. You got Marcus Outlaw, a legend at NFA, and he's got 2 younger brothers that and he's looking for gigs. I know he was going to get the basketball job there because there's been coaching moves there. But tell us about how Marcus and his brothers ended up coming to Ledyard. And that's kind of like sacrilege almost for an FA guy to go to Ledyard. But Marcus seems like he's found a home there.
Yeah, I mean, so we had 2 openings. One on our football staff, one on our basketball staff. Obviously, Marcus was looking for a place to go. And, myself and Coach Exum, Coach DJ, are both, younger guys. Yeah. And, Marcus and DJ have a friendship. And so, they got to talking and, obviously DJ let him know about the football opening and how, I was a younger guy and we probably get along really well. And so when Coach Bunacore brought him in, me and DJ, were there to talk to him. And right away, I knew what I was getting. I color myself a good judge of character, and it doesn't take long to know what you're getting when you meet Marcus Outlaw. Just a salt of the earth individual. And so it was an easy decision for Coach Bunacore and also, myself and Coach Exum. And wouldn't you know it, he has two younger brothers who are very, very talented. So that just happened to be a bonus, and it all worked out, really nicely for Ledyard High School.
Marcus is he's the best. What a great player back when he was in high school. But he was also he was one of those fun guys that you remember 20 years from now, he was all over Bowley when he was playing at NFA. He's like, you got to come up. You just send him everything. Yep. He was all time. Is all time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I like I said, the first time I saw Marcus Outlaw was, so I was running the Connecticut Post's blog. Like that was our big thing then. And, NFA was this upstart team and they were having a really good season, but we didn't really, pay attention to the Eastern Connecticut Conference. Kind of gets left out a bit, the ECC. I mean, it's been a very good conference over the years. Won a bunch of state championships, but we're down in Fairfield County. We're all like, well, Ledyard. I mean, NFA, come on. Yeah. So they come over to West Haven in the semifinals. They play Staples, which is this is 2012 now.
Yep.
And Staples, it was a big show. They were going to play Xavier in the final. They had an all-time team. It was one of Marsh's last great teams at Staples, and they both met at Ken Strong Stadium, and Marcus was just crushing it. The first carry, I'll never forget it. It's on YouTube somewhere. He got the ball and just ran over people, dragged about 3 or 4 Staples kids from what I remember, and just had an amazing game. The whole team had an amazing game. They went to the final. They lost to Xavier, another all-time team that was great. I mean, sure. Tim Boyle. Let's start there. But anyway, so I mean, I'm looking at the footage of Ryan, and I know he was all fired up about his kid brothers going there. And I'm looking at the footage of Ryan. He's wearing 21, running all over Bacon last weekend. I mean, he was just it was impressive, and I see a lot of the same thing. I know he has another brother, obviously another brother, but I see some of the same things in Ryan. I see in Marcus.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan Outlaw is a specimen for sure. Probably our biggest, strongest, and fastest kid that we have, and just very gifted, athletically. But what makes him, who he really is on the football field is the not measurable part of his game, and that's his coachability. And how badly he wants to be great and how badly he wants to win football games. And, everything that we preach at Ledyard from a programmatic standpoint, as far as, how we carry ourselves, how we go about our business, on and off the field, he's dove headfirst into. And so, day by day, his leadership is developing as well. And just a total value add for our football program in every way you could possibly imagine. And so his athletic ability kind of takes a backseat in my mind, just to the kind of kid that he is, just overall.
The way you're talking about, the Outlaws and these high school athletes, coming from college, what have you, noticed is maybe the biggest difference from, coaching a Division III, football team, coaching a position on a college football team to leading a program at the high school level?
Yeah, there's not a heck of a lot of similarities. And it has been interesting because, especially at Ledyard, we got a smaller roster. So now you have everybody plays both ways. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Your practice time is limited. Your meeting time is limited. And the experience of the players it varies from, kids who can potentially be all state to kids who are still learning the difference between offense and defense. And so figuring out how to get everybody coached up appropriately, finding out how kids learn, reminding kids how much football is and yet how big of a commitment it is after a year away, relearning how to block and tackle. And I think that's the biggest thing is teaching the fundamentals is so huge on a day in, day out basis. In college, it's important too, but you have guys that can tackle, you have guys that can block. You're kind of refining the details of their games. Here, you're teaching kids how to get into a stance. What foot do you step with? Cadence. What's a hash mark? What's the pylon? All these different things that you might assume a kid might know. You can't assume anything at the high school level.
Even more so this year, Coach, huh?
Exactly. After a year of not having any football, any real football, to go off of. But I give so much credit to our assistant coaches. Marcus especially. Marcus is our only coach in the building at Ledyard. And so the kids see Marcus more than anybody. And you can't really ask for a better guy to fill that role as far as a kid or a man, sorry. who connects with the kids almost instantly, and every kid from Froshmores to seniors, he has a connection with and a relationship with, and a guy who's years ahead of the curve as far as coaching goes. He's a young coach, but the way he carries himself and the way he coaches the kids, you wouldn't be able to tell. So him and our other assistants, Coach Chmielewski, Coach Wilbur, Coach Giesing, Coach McCarthy. Coach McCarthy's first year, it's his first year coaching. I coached Coach McCarthy at Springfield.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we have a tremendous staff who've totally bought into what I'm trying to do programmatically, and they do such a good job. I think oftentimes head coaches get too much credit because at the end of the day, it comes down to your kids first and foremost, and how bought in they are and how much they trust you. But again, you have 5 other guys who are responsible for coaching the kids. I'm not coaching everybody. It's a full organizational programmatic deal. All the success we have is due to the players and the assistants. And then if and when we fail, I'm gonna have to figure out a better way to point those guys in the right direction. But can't say enough about the players and my staff so far this year. It's really been awesome.
So this is a young team, not just on the team, but like in the coaching staff too. I was just going to say Justin Outlaw, we didn't even talk about him, but he's a sophomore. Yep. You have James Green, you have Daxon Poole, they're all juniors. Yep. And you got a young coaching staff. I mean, I'm sure Jim Butecore is sitting there going like, what am I, a daycare or something here?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's because, I think, I might make him nervous sometimes, not being as, detailed as he would like as far as like the administrative piece goes. And that's kind of what I'm learning as I go here. But, and I have full confidence in the football product that we're putting out there. And I don't think I know he does too. But again, he's hiring all these young guys and gals across all sports. So it's kind of something that we're hanging our hat on. I think it's important because, at the end of the day, if you can't connect with the kids and you can't build relationships with the kids and the kids can't trust you and you don't really see eye to eye with the kids or can relate to the kids, you could have the best scheme in America, but it's not going to matter. So I think with hiring young coaches, not that older coaches can't do it, but hiring younger coaches, it might be a little bit easier to build those inroads, especially with high school kids.
What's it like having him? He must be good to have him in the building. Your boss there, but I mean, he wants Ledyard to win too, and obviously said he wants you to be successful. You could just whatever you want. I guess you can ask him for what would you do in this situation, or what you some advice, or I'm sure he wants you to do your own thing. But if you need some help, Jim Butecore is right there.
No, I know absolutely, and again, I'm young. I haven't really been around that many ADs, but from what I've seen from Coach Butecore, if there's a better AD in the state of Connecticut, I'd like to see him and know why he's better than Jim. And obviously Jim is a football guy, but Jim gives equal attention and effort to every single sport in the building, and I think it shows. We've been successful this fall. We've had obviously success in the past across all different sports. But I've been extremely lucky as far as my mentorship is concerned, between Coach Gow and Coach Serricchio, and now Coach Butecore. I truly could not imagine working for a more supportive, person. Someone who's gonna tell me when I'm wrong and what I need to fix, and be very blunt about it, and not not pulling any punches, but because again it needs to be done the right way. And then a guy who also again is going to support me, no matter what I need, as long as I'm holding up my end of the bargain. The guy's going to bend over backwards for me and my program. But again, it goes across all sports at the high school, and it goes into his role as the assistant principal as well.
Full disclosure, Jim Butecore and the Eastern Connecticut chapter of the National Football Foundation gave me a Person of the Year award, which is behind me.
Yeah, not
so I just want to make sure I shouted Jimmy out, because he gave my mom a really nice, my family a really nice afternoon, especially my mom, who's thrilled about that. So thanks, Jim. I gotta give you some props.
That's big time. Person of the Year. That's a big talent pool you're pulling from.
Okay. I know. It was very nice. It was really nice from but I figure it was just so everyone knows, full disclosure, Jimmy did a really nice thing for me. But go ahead, Pete.
No, I was just going to say, I'm looking at your schedule. Obviously, you have Waterford coming up. your CT Football Alliance game is against Lyman Hall, week 4. I mean, they should have sent you to the other Wallingford school. You should have played Sheehan, Farazi. He's a Springfield guy. That would have been awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What are we doing here,
awesome.
Alliance?
He's running a hell of a program.
Yeah, that would have been so much fun. 2 Springfield guys on the sideline.
We play on our schedule, you know, and hopefully I'm here for a long time. So we have plenty of time to do it. But, we play on our schedule. We're looking forward to playing Lyman.
What other Springfield alums are out there? I mean, other than our friend Sean McFarland, shout out, who's actually leaving us from the Hartford Courant. He's actually just announced that he was going to the Dallas Morning News. Sean McFarland, best wishes. We loved having you here. But what other Springfield alums are out there in the football world?
Lou Marinelli is a Springfield guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
That is right.
Yep. Steve Spagnuolo is a Springfield guy.
Yeah.
The defensive coordinator at James Madison,
Okay.
Corey Heatherman, he's a Springfield guy. The safeties coach at University of Minnesota, Joe Harrisimiak, he's a Springfield guy.
Oh, yeah.
Tim Murphy, the head coach at Harvard, he's a Springfield guy.
Wow.
Offensive coordinator at Yale, Kevin Cahill, he's a Springfield guy.
Look at that.
I had I mean, I knew, Springfield's got a great program, and, they obviously you see a lot of kids on signing day. They end up going there, or signing day, they end up going to Springfield. They announced that, and they've got their hands all over the state. But look at this. I didn't know it was that. I forgot that I think Lou just got an award or something like that, or some sort of achievement thing. I don't know. But I forgot. I remember that he was there.
Yeah, he got more than one
award he hasn't gotten.
Yeah, he probably has a couple sports person of the years, unlike Sean, who only has one.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got like 20 on there. But what is it about Springfield? I mean, it's just a great place, huh?
Yeah, it was founded on, education and mostly physical education. And, physical education and coaching are, kind of married to each other. And it's a proud football tradition, man. They've been playing for 130 years now. And Amos Alonzo Stagg was the first coach, and James Naismith was the center on the team. And, like Jim Thorpe played there one day. It's an unbelievable tradition for such a small school in Central Mass. But, you take that many years of existence and pair that with a proud tradition of, developing PE teachers who also, end up coaching. And then, again, the GA program that they have is insane. They have 8 graduate assistants who each and every year go on to all types of levels of football, from high school to the NFL. And so that's why they call it, the cradle of coaches. It's something, we pride ourselves on. And I think the word's out now, any young coaches that are interested in perfecting their craft, it's a great place to be.
So this is like one of those schools where like the school's reputation precedes you. Like they're like, oh, he's a Springfield guy. Oh, all right. We got to give this guy an interview, huh?
I mean, yeah. I mean, people in the know, they do say that, but hey, it'll get you in the door, but it's not going to get you the job. And so, as a Springfield guy, you got to make sure that you're, doing the program proud and, holding up your end of the bargain, because the name's not enough.
Right. I understand that. I mean, I think a lot. I mean, I went to Syracuse and all these, big time Syracuse broadcasts. You got all people all going to sports journalism, got to live up to that name and stuff like that.
Right.
So that's kind of hard. And I totally get that. And Southern's got the same type of tradition with journalism as well. There's a lot of great journalists and people in Connecticut who came out of and beyond.
But I'm the greatest.
Yeah. Well, we all understand that. So just quick, just about the game this week, obviously Waterford, they got some kids, they kind of had a tough start to the year, but that's going to be a challenge for you guys this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. The biggest difference is just, systematically, we go from playing 2 wing T teams to a team who's going to spread us out and make us defend, the whole field. And so again, yeah, they have great athletes. They have a receiver who is a bona fide playmaker. The quarterback has a very strong arm. He's very elusive. He can run like a deer if you let him get in the open field. And they have a very big and physical offensive and defensive line. So we're definitely excited for the opportunity, because these are the games that you sign up for. And so we're looking forward to hosting them, and we can't wait.
Well, they're 1-1 right now. They just beat they beat Wyndham by 3 points last week. They killing. So I take that back. Not a really rough start. That was a good win for them last week. And like you said, they're pretty good. Obviously they have the big D lineman he's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things that has really been kind of worrisome is the COVID still kind of creeping in and kind of maybe mucking around with the schedule. You know, as a coach, you know, how much are you concerned about that? You know, and what do you do to keep your kids, you know, on the straight and narrow, make sure everyone does the right thing so we don't have that type of problem? I mean, a majority of teams have played, but you know, you can still see out there that you know, it can kind of come up and bite you at any time.
Yeah, it's definitely a super interesting, you know, facet of all of our lives across the board. You know, not just football, but you know, I think all you can do is you know, follow the mandates, do what you know, the professionals are telling us to do to the best of our ability, and you know, that's all we really can do. We can't really worry about anything else if we're holding up our end of the bargain. That's really all that we can do, and so you know, we're not gonna you know, worry about it too much if we're doing, you know, what we're supposed to do. But, you know, I tell our team all the time, you know, it is real. And if we don't do everything that we can do to mitigate it, you know, it can literally, you know, derail our season at the drop of a hat. And so it's kind of a dark cloud, you know, over everybody right now. But again, you know, as a coach, you just got to make sure that they're doing, you know, what they're supposed to do, masking up, you know, staying, you know, 3 to 6 feet apart whenever they can. But there's only so much you can do. It's unpredictable and it's unbiased. So, like I said, as long as you're, you know, checking the boxes and following mandates and guidelines, you know, that's all you can really do.
Certainly. And Pete, take us out on a high note, please.
Well, you mentioned my stuff behind me, the Marvel stuff. So, who's your favorite superhero then?
Yeah,
my favorite superhero. That's a good question. So my wife and I actually watched every Marvel movie from the Infinity War saga.
You're Pete's best friend.
Over quarantine. And again, going back, you know, to my meathead roots and my Springfield days, you know, loving to pump iron and whatnot, it's hard for me not to say Thor.
Yeah.
Especially after the whole Ragnarok, you know, rebirthing thing. I wasn't a huge fan of what they did to him with the you know, the Endgame deal there.
Yeah.
But I understand why they did it. It was funny, you know, it was enjoyable.
He's going to be back. I don't know if you saw the photo that Hemsworth posted.
Yeah.
He looks huge.
He'll be back. But definitely eye patch Ragnarok Thor is tough to beat for me.
Oh my God, especially with Led Zeppelin playing. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
One of the
I worship Led Zeppelin. So like when I was in the theater and I saw that scene, I was like, oh my. That was awesome.
Now you're speaking my language.
I'm gonna watch that show right now, actually.
Yeah, I actually just got Black Widow in the mail. So I've already seen it, but
yeah, I've got to see that one.
Yeah, I got to go see Shang-Chi as well. I haven't I haven't had time to go to the movies. So
yeah, you know, during the fall.
Yeah, it's tough.
All right, I gotta break this.
I've been trying to get Sean to watch those movies forever.
It's apparent to me that Sean does not share our affinity for the Marvel universe. That's okay.
The first movie I ever saw in the theater was Superman, the original Superman. First of all, it tells you how old I am.
Right.
But the Christopher Reeve Superman and Gene Hackman and the first Batman movie I saw was the original Batman, and I with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, which was amazing. That was like the build up to that was just unbelievable. We'd never seen anything like it. You know, it was like people were like falling over each other just to go watch that movie in '89. But and I also watched the campy one too when I was a kid. I love that. But then it just got a little just too nuts, man. Just my brother was a huge comic book fan. It just got a little too much for me. That's all.
I would give it one more try. It's really well done.
Okay.
I own every movie.
I caught Infinity War, a sliver of it, I think a couple weekends ago, and I was just like, I've never watched this stuff. So anyway,
yeah, it's hard to follow.
It's the best.
Anyway, all right. Coach Serricchio, thank you very much and that is Serricchio, everyone. Just so you know, make sure you get it right.
Thank you.
That is very important that we get everyone's names right. I'm Bowley. That's Paguaga. He's speaking of guys who have tough time to pronounce his name. Yeah. So Serricchio is his name, and he's the head coach at Ledyard High School. 2-0, big game with Waterford this week. You know, ought to be a good one, and then and away we go. So, Coach, thanks a lot for giving us a little time. Tell Marcus and the guys we said hello, and I'm sure we will see you out there as soon as we possibly can.
Yeah, we'd love to have you guys come to any game that you want. So come on down. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Right. And Jim always points out the best food spots. I went to a baseball game 2 years ago, and I ended up going to this hot dog place. It was delicious.
I've never been to a game at Ledyard yet. Huh.
What a shame.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
I saw him.
missing out.
I went out to Bacon Academy and saw him play a few years back when Jimmy was there. And then I've been to Waterford and New London. I've never been to Ledyard. How about that? Brand new field.
They have alpacas, Sean.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
All right. Well, it's on the bucket list, so we'll get out there soon enough. Coach, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the way.
All right, gents. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
So, Pete, that was Mike Serricchio from Ledyard, and 2-0 Ledyard. It's not the same without Ledyard, and I'm glad they're 2-0 and getting a little going here, and some outlaws, and away we go. That should be a good game this weekend with Waterford.
Yeah, it will go a long way in telling us maybe where Ledyard stands on a state level. Obviously, it's a conference game, but that'd be a big win for that program. And, Coach was great, but, I just loved when he was talking about Bunicor, because Bunicor, friend of the program, he's a great guy. And he's one of the, when I went up to Ledyard for a baseball game, he was sending me like all these different like restaurants. He's like, oh, this place has the best hot dogs. This place is this. You want to meet the alpacas? Like, I go there and it was like open arms, so it's nice to see them back in the win column. And a win here can go a long way for that program.
Yeah, it certainly should. And, we'll be anxious to watch them. And it's Alliance Week, Pete. We've got lots of games, lots of coverage. Newtown, Darien. I mean, we are just getting started. It's still only September. And, it's been a slog, but we're happy with us, and we're happy to get this season started. Let's move on to week 3. This is for Pete Paguaga. I'm Sean Patrick Bowley. This has been the Meat Grinder on GameTimeCT.
Love you.